Hi there. I'm Lisa Campion, and this is The Miracle of Healing on Empower Radio, where conscious people come together to explore the world of healing and heal the planet one person at a time. Wow. So today we're going to talk about how to manage your menopause naturally, which I don't mind telling you is an awesome topic for me. Certainly something that's on my mind these days. And I found this incredible fact that I didn't know when today when I was looking through Maryon Stewart's work, and she says that in 2020 more than 50 million women are going to go through menopause in the United States, and it's estimated that over 1 billion people around the world will be experiencing menopause globally by 2025. And that, gosh, that's a lot. So when I read that, I'm like, that's a lot of cranky, unhappy women that if they don't know how to work magic on this like Maryon does, maybe suffering needlessly, right? So lots of these people, of these women, experience symptoms for over a decade, for over 10 years. Issues like hot flashes, mood swings, difficulty concentrating, sleep problems, loss of sex drive. And so many of them don't know that they can alleviate their symptoms. They just sort of live with it, maybe because they don't know there are things they can do. So thank God that we have people like Maryon Stewart, who wrote this beautiful book. She's an expert on this. She's wrote a book called Managing Your Menopause Naturally, which we're going to talk about today, and is remarkably the author of 27 other books. That's incredible. So she is a world-renowned healthcare expert, and she's helped tens of thousands of women around the world overcome PMS and menopause symptoms without using drugs or hormones. And she has won all kinds of awards for that, including the British Empire Medal, and is recognized as one of the 50 most inspirational women by the Daily Mail. So welcome so much, Maryon. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, great. And so tell us a little bit about how you got onto this topic of women's hormones and helping us with our hormones.
Well, it goes back a very long way. When I was given 200 medical papers when I was on maternity leave by 4 doctors who were setting up something called the British Society of Nutritional Medicine. And we found 200 on PMS, or rather I did. And we turned that into a program for my ex-husband's clinic because he was a nutritional physician. And within a very short space of time, we found we were helping women with PMS, and 94% of them were symptom-free within the space of 4 months.
Wow.
And that was just, no matter how severe those symptoms were. And then as time went by, there were publications on menopause, on the natural approach, showing that you could bring about similar changes in the lining of the vagina, reduce flushes and so on, in a similar way as you would expect to see with hormone replacement therapy. And so I decided to tweak the program that we were running at the time and turn it into a program for menopause as well. And so that's really what we did. And then that was all going along, and basically we were delivering it either on a one-to-one or via a kind of telehealth service, but also on one-to-one. And then in the end of 2016, I think it was, someone taught me how to make films for Facebook Live. And I made 4 little films on my phone, which were absolutely rubbish quality. It was very scary in those days to not go into hair and makeup when you were making a film. And so I had the courage to put them up on Facebook. And within 12 weeks, over 1 million women saw them. And so it was the old days at the advisory service I ran for PMS, where we were just inundated with the saddest, most tragic stories of women who were feeling like there was nothing left to live for and could just totally losing control, feeling that the best years of their life had gone and that there was nowhere to go but down. And so I know that's not true, because I've been helping literally hundreds of thousands of women all around the world to reclaim their well-being. And I know that women need what we call a midlife refuel, because they've got low levels of important nutrients and low levels of hormones that you can actually address naturally. And when you do that, it has an absolutely miraculous effect. So women go from feeling maybe even suicidal and bombing out the workplace, sleeping on the edge of the bed if they've still got a relationship, not wanting to be touched, to embracing life, feeling like the best version of themselves, better than they can remember, and fully in the driving seat. So not only are they symptom free, but also they know how to future proof their health in the long term and protect their heart, their bones, and their memory, because that's something that we're more predisposed to those problems after menopause because our estrogen levels go down. So it could be a fabulous time of your life if you've got the right knowledge. And the problem is that most women don't.
Wow. Yeah, that's so encouraging. And I do feel like it's true that there's more attention paid to men's health issues. Like if men went through menopause, would we have figured this out a while ago? Like, I don't know.
You have to wonder, don't you? There was a study published in England, although I'm living in Florida, I have to say, because I'm married an American, but there was a study published in England a few weeks ago on English doctors showing that 95% of them who were of the right age were suffering with menopause symptoms, and 45% of them were thinking of changing their work life, like actually working part-time or leaving. And there was a Mayo Clinic survey published last year here on doctors and gynecologists showing that only 7% of them felt adequately educated to help women going through menopause. And honestly, when I read that, I did a double take, because I thought, how could that be? Only 7%. And all these poor women are just left to fend for themselves. And it's not right. It just isn't.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it is right. And I do think there's this sort of like, I don't know, like just endure it. Like there isn't anything you can do. You just have to endure it. It's part of the, the pain we have of being female. We have the pain of PMS. We have the pain of childbirth, and then we have the pain of menopause. And it's like we just sort of have to suck it up and deal with it. That's, I think, a prevailing attitude about this, right?
Absolutely. But the thing is, yes, obviously we're going to have pain during childbirth unless something miraculously happens or we have an anesthetic. But for PMS and menopause, if you learn how to meet your needs, there is absolutely no need to suffer. And that's what, in our last survey on 1,100 women, 96% of them said that they were absolutely unprepared for menopause. And I found that shocking as well, because we're born as babies with millions of eggs, and we go through our lives without a manual. We just don't know, and no one teaches us any time in our life about how to look after ourselves. And we know we did, in the old days when we were looking at women with PMS, we did 5 separate studies where we measured nutrient levels, and we found that between 50 to 80% of the women had low levels of things like magnesium, B vitamins, iron, zinc, essential fatty acids, vitamin D, and so on. And unless you know how to fix that, your brain chemistry and your hormones are not going to function well. And then when you get older, as you get to midlife, that becomes those nutrient levels become in even further short supply. And then you've got the added whammy of having empty estrogen receptor sites because the ovaries are no longer working. 100 years or so ago, we weren't living much past 50 and it didn't matter. But now when 40 something is halfway for most of us, then it matters a great deal. And we've got to learn to meet our needs if we want to stay in good shape in the short and the long term.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how you said that. And what kind of things? Is it mostly nutritional that you're working with, or with nutrition and supplements? Is that what you're advising?
Everything natural, and it's all based on published medical research. So my program covers 5 things, but there's more to it than that. So we're looking at teaching women how to get their nutrients back into an optimum range, and so that their brain chemistry and hormones function normally, and taking out of their diet in the short term things that may impede the absorption of good nutrients. Second thing is teaching them how to consume Mother Nature's estrogen so that you fill those receptor sites and you fool the brain back into thinking that it's got normal circulating estrogen. So you switch off the flushes and the night switch, which are just the brain trying to kickstart the ovaries back into function, because it doesn't get the fact that they're not going to be operating again anytime soon. And then we've got science-based supplements, so supplements from around the world that have been through properly conducted clinical trials. Depending on your symptom set, they're standardized and they've been shown to be safe and effective. And exercise to get you moving and get you supple, to oxygenate your brain, to burn up the fat that you tend to be accumulating around the middle, and to release those lovely endorphins that make you feel good. And then doing some formal relaxation like meditation, or something like the relaxation at the end of a yoga session, which helps to rewire your brain and also to reduce things like flashes by about 50 to 60%. So it's those things, but there's more, because even this year while I was writing the book, There was research published on mindfulness and on cognitive behavior therapy, and there's just so many things that are being published all the time now on the natural approach. There are so many tools, just depending on each individual woman, her lifestyle, her tastes, and so on. But there's no substitute for getting yourself back into really good nutritional state and learning how to meet the needs of the estrogen receptor sites within the cells little and often, so that you can fool your brain.
And what kind of things do that? What kind of foods are they that do that?
To fill the receptor sites, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are those tricky estrogen things that will help
If
us
you
do that?
look under this, if you look at estradiol, which is the estrogen that you have before menopause, and you look at the isoflavone, which is Mother Nature's estrogen, they look so structurally similar that you can understand why they fool the brain into thinking that it is ordinary estrogen. And the foods that are richest in those are foods that contain soy. So any of the soy products, flax seeds is another one, golden flax seeds, and red clover, which we use in pill form. So they're the main ones. There are other, I list in the book a whole load of other foods that contain some, but not to the same degree. And then we've got all the serving sizes, because you need to have about 100 milligrams of these isoflavones a day, little and often, because the receptor sites don't stay full for very long. But it's terribly important to fill them, because if you've got empty estrogen receptor sites, they are so hungry, they'll take any old estrogen, and you've got the harmful environmental estrogen in cleaning products and pesticides and pollution, and you don't want those, because they can increase your incidence of things like breast cancer. So it's important, if you had a race between Mother Nature's estrogen and HRT, hormone replacement, and the environmental estrogen, amazingly, Mother Nature's estrogen gets in there first, fills the receptor site, seals it off, and so you're protecting yourself. You've got the right amount of estrogen, and you're protecting yourself from the harmful estrogen.
Wow, even more than HRT, that hormone replacement therapy?
Well, it does the same thing, but also helps in the long term. It helps you, because you're fooling the brain into thinking you've got normal circulating estrogen again. The factory, which has been making all the cells that produce new bone, protecting you from heart disease, dementia, and all of those factories, and vaginal if you've got dryness, you've lost the mucus, so those mucus producing cells, all of those kind of things go back into production. So it has a really big effect. Even 1 or 2 studies have shown you can decrease the depths of wrinkles in your skin within a space of about 12 weeks quite significantly. So it's almost like turning back your biological clock, because your body really does look and feel a whole lot younger. If you've been achy before, if you've had vaginal dryness, which we know over 50% of women do at the time of menopause, 75% lose their libido, and that's a really well kept secret that no one talks about because it's too embarrassing. 50% of women get constipated around the menopause. There are all sorts of other things that happen to us apart from the hot flushes and night sweats and insomnia. And some women feel that they've got early dementia, and it's very, very scary.
Yeah, that brain fog, confusion and brain fog. And I imagine is there a connection between this and actual dementia? Like, if we do these things, can we keep our brain health for longer?
Well, the research shows that you can prevent dementia. You can certainly delay it. And yes, you can, if you're keeping your brain well nourished. It's like not watering a plant. You're going to expect it will curl up and eventually die. So if you're nourishing yourself on a regular basis and you keep everything in an optimum range, just like your muscles, if you exercise, you've got muscles. If you break your leg and you can't exercise, even the 6 weeks that you have your leg in plaster, when you take the cast off, you see that you've got one withered leg compared to the other leg. So it's just, you've got to really keep on doing these things to keep yourself in really good shape over time.
Wow, that's so. I think it's so encouraging that people that can reverse this, and I do think people don't talk about it very much. It's like, and especially about the libido and the sex drive, thing. And there's sort of this expectation that women of a certain age don't take themselves out of that game. And I remember one of my friends telling me that she went through the change, as she called it, and she just had this conversation with her husband where she said, yeah, we're just not going to be doing that anymore. And I was like, oh, he didn't get a say in it. I felt like that was kind of probably an unfortunate difficult choice in their marriage, right? Like, but it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. And also, it's very sad. We've done surveys on men and they feel frustrated and rejected and they feel scared too, because, you know, if a guy's in his 40s or early 50s, it shouldn't have to be the end of his sex life. That's not natural. And I don't think women want it to be either. It's just they're too scared and it's too painful. But you can reverse all that. You can get the moisture back. You can get the switched on feeling from the waist downwards. All that comes back. The other thing that's really scary is we did a survey on 1,000 women a few years ago in the workplace, and 84% of them said that their productivity was affected by menopause symptoms for more than a week a month. And they were so many women thinking about leaving the workplace, just like that survey of the doctors that I mentioned. And they're scared in the workplace. Over 50% of them don't talk to their line managers. They don't even talk to their colleagues about it. And they really are afraid. And because it's the fastest growing sector in the workplace, and women are expected to work for much longer, and they've been competing in a man's world quite successfully for some time, they don't want to fall over at the time of the menopause and be given a desk fan and an M badge. They need a solution. And the point is, right now, there's such a lack of knowledge. As you said right in the beginning, they don't even know it's possible to get better. They just buy into the fact that it's downhill from now onwards, which is why I'm absolutely passionate about getting the information out that's in the book, because it will give women hope again, that they can reclaim their well-being. And if you've had a baby or two and done some breastfeeding, you go downhill so slowly, you don't realize how far down you've gone until you come up again. And so it's almost like this miraculous. On my website, there's a film that we made of women last year, about I think 8 or 10 women who were going through menopause, who came to see me or came on my 6-week program, and we literally transformed them from being either suicidal or bombing out the workplace or feeling like a shadow of their former self, through to feeling completely turbocharged and so happy in their own skin that they could get on with life as they wanted to. And that's what I believe every single woman on the planet has a right to that.
Wow, that's an incredible story. And I do think, like, women, I don't know, I think men, it's probably different, and there's different subtleties between men and women here, but so much of our well-being depends on our hormones, like how we feel and our moods and how we think and our health, all of these things. And it just seems like such a delicate thing to try and adjust. I don't know if Western medicine, if you go to your gynecologist, they really have a solution for you except HRT.
No, well, again, in the survey we did last year, we found that 37% of the women were given antidepressants for menopause, and 84% of those didn't feel it was appropriate because they weren't depressed.
Wow.
And in the UK, this was, and we had 41% of the women were given hormones, but 14% didn't take it because they were too scared of the side effects. And of those who did take it, 61% of them came off because of serious adverse side effects, and they couldn't take it and they were just left. So that's the point. And then women go to Google, but when they've been up all night and they're feeling confused and they've got brain fog, Google is such a confusing place because not all information is equal. And for example, with pots of pills or packets of pills, the research shows that very often a lot of them don't even contain what they say on the label. So it's a minefield. And so from my perspective, what we've done is we've taken all the guesswork out of it. I've put everything together in the book. And it's the stuff that I teach people on my program, which used to be my one-to-one in the clinic. But when I made those films for Facebook and I had the over 1 million women watching them, I realized I had to do something. And so we split up all the information that I use for my 5-month program and divided it into 6 modules to teach women to manage their menopause naturally. And so that's what I've put in the book. It's effectively the course manual, and it's just giving the information away to everybody so that they can put it to good use.
I'm so glad you did that. And if they read the book and they wanted to get your supplements, how would they do that?
Well, they can come on out. If I think for the book, it's good if people are suffering mildly to moderately, then they can manage by themselves. But people who are suffering really severely probably need some extra help. So we have our 6-week course. They just need to go to my website and they'll find that you can do an assessment on the website. You can join the Midlife Refuel Club. All of that's free. And then if anyone wants some extra help, then they can come through and we'll have a conversation about them joining our 6-week course. It's all virtual. And so you do it from your own home. We've been using Zoom actually for the last 3 years. So we were ahead of the curve. And
Cool.
Yeah, it works really well, and it runs from your phone, so you've got all your
That's so
data
great.
and you can track everything and got all your course materials. And we're there, and we do live sessions every week as well, so women can come and meet me, meet the nutritionist, and get their questions answered and really get help. So we tailor make a program. They fill in a detailed questionnaire, and we actually tailor make the program for them according to their medical history and their symptoms, so that they fast track to getting well. So there's a solution, whether you want to help yourself with the book, or you want some hands-on help, or just assess where you are and get some additional input. Then there's something for everybody. But it's so important. We can't be complacent, because if we don't, then we are doomed to go downhill. There's nowhere else other than down, unless you get armed with knowledge so that you can get yourself in good shape. And then that makes a difference. It's the difference between night and day.
Yeah, infecting so many parts of so many critical parts of our life. And I think, in my family, it's been the 10 pounds around the middle, the 10 or 20 pounds around the middle. It's like, here's, welcome to menopause. Here's your extra pair of saddlebags you're going to wear forever. And does your program have some something to say about that? Does it kind of trim those pounds off when we get our hormones balanced properly?
Absolutely. In fact, women lose weight on the program without dieting. Even in 6 weeks, they often lose between 7 and 12 pounds. But in the long term, they also, because they're exercising and doing all sorts of toning exercise as well as aerobic exercise, they get their shape back again. And it has a dramatic effect. And I think, again, they buy into the fact that this is what's happening at midlife and there isn't any other way. And because your metabolism slows down at midlife, so that's the rate at which your body ticks over, even eating your normal diet will cause you to put weight on.
Right.
Because we're not going to reproduce again after menopause, instead of putting the fat depositing on our thighs and our hips and our breasts to turn into milk, it's got nowhere else to go than around our middle. And so we we lose our feminine shape and become more a masculine
the apple shape.
Yeah. But you just can't, honestly, it has a normalizing effect on your metabolism. And it has, as you said, every level, whether it's your thought processes, whether it's your joints not feeling achy anymore, you're managing to have peaceful sleep. You don't have to get up to pee in the night half a dozen times because your bladder has got thin and your urethra and you can't hold the urine anymore, or you can have comfortable sex because your vagina becomes moist and the elasticity comes back. It's just, it's just terrible that women don't know that that's possible naturally. And so I'm really on a mission to change all that over the next 5 years so that everyone understands that they can have a midlife refuel without stigma. So that even in the work in your 40s, you don't have to put your hand up and say, please, can I have a desk fan? You just know that you can go and get your midlife refuel and get back to feeling really well again.
So let's take a look at the Midlife Refuel program. I think we can get a slide of that up on our screen here so we can see it. So this is the program. This is where they would want to go to join your 6-week program.
This is the Midlife Refuel Club is free. So
this is the free one. Okay.
Yeah, so they've got access to information. But if they actually go to the main website and they'll click on that and they'll find the 6-week solution under solutions. And they can do an assessment, they can scroll down, or they can go up to the top and click on solutions, and the 6-week program comes up on there. And that's where they get all the information about what's in the course for each week as well, and how it all works with some of the case stories. And as I said, as you go onto the website, there's a film with some of the women, so you can actually watch that. It's only a 5-minute film, but you can watch it and see what happened to them. But all the information, if what they want to help themselves, is in the book. And I've even got, there's a picture, because Mother Nature shows us the physical signs of vitamin and mineral deficiency. So, for example, if you have red patches at the side of your nose, or cracking at the side of your lips, or you've got dry skin, greasy skin, brittle hair that's falling out, your nails ridgy, you've got pimples on your upper arms and thighs, all of that means something.
Wow.
And so you can go
and have in your book.
Yeah, you can look at that. You can find the foods that are rich in important nutrients, so you can detect and correct nutritional deficiencies as well. So that's all in there. We've even got shopping lists. We've got menus, recipes. If you don't like cooking or you can't be bothered, then there's healthy, fast options. So there's something in there for everybody so that it's manageable. Because I know if it's too hard, people won't do it.
We don't do it. Well, Maryon, thank you so much for this incredible work that you've done. I'm going to go home and sign up for your program. It sounds so fantastic. And we've got to get the word out to everybody. So thank you so much for being on the program with us today and talking about it. It's such an important topic and one that's near and dear to my heart. So personal, big thank you. And I'm gonna go read your book and then join your program too. I think.
Okay. I'd love to help you. Okay.
Thank you. I'd love it too. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thanks so much for all of you guys who are listening or watching us today on the Miracle of Healing. Thank you for being here. You can come and find me on my website, lisacampion.com. I'd love to visit with you. Come stop by and say hi. And thank you so much for being here today, where we are healing the planet one person at a time right here on Empower Radio.